Welcome back to the Bounce Factory 2 Quick Start video series, and in this video we're going to have a look at the Bounce Factory settings. So click the gear icon, and here we go. The first set of settings are for the alerts that you get if you have Bounce Factory Pro. You can be iMessaged, SMS'd, or emailed after each bounce pass and or after the job completes. Personally, I not only love getting the text at the end of the process telling me that my mixes are ready, but I also like to monitor the process. So I have the alert after each bounce pass checked, and what that also means is I can have a look every once in a while and just make sure that the times between the texts are about the same and that they're still coming in, and I know the process is still happening. Obviously, if I'm asleep, I just wake up to some texts, and that's absolutely fine. So here's where you put in your address, select the alert type, and when you'd like to get them. There's one setting down here which is very specific to printing mute passes. Let's say you're doing a selected track mute pass, and you've selected a track that actually has mute automation. Well, the way that Pro Tools works, as soon as you hit play, it's going to follow the mute automation and not the fact that you said, I want that track muted. What you can do if you're in that situation is turn on this preference, and Bounce Factory will actually bypass mute automation but leave all other types of automation playing while it bounces the mix pass with that track muted. Then it will re-enable it so that it plays back normally during all of the other mix passes. That particular function is more advanced, so you can turn it off and things will go a little bit faster if you don't need that. Up top is the Pro Bounce Recall filter. This is for importing all the information from your snapshot other than soloing and muting tracks, and if you were using playlist passes or mini snaps, which are covered in a different video. Every single snapshot knows everything about your session except the edits themselves that are in the edit window when you click continue and save the snapshot. If you have Bounce Factory Pro, you can decide to recall any of those settings you want for each set of mix passes. So let's say I'm printing a set of mixes for a song and I need to print vocal up and vocal down. There's no mix pass that we've talked about in the previous videos that you can create, which will turn something up and down. But what you can do is you can make a snapshot with the vocals at a certain level, and then you can make a second snapshot with the vocals turned up, and when you say continue, the snapshot will know what the volume level was when you took the second snapshot. Therefore, you can use those for your vocal ups. That will only happen if you say, I want to import main volume. You may not want to import anything else, because what if you've tweaked the mix since you took the snapshot? You don't want everything to come back, because then you wouldn't be able to assign it to another session. You wouldn't be able to do revisions and load the mix passes back into the app. You wouldn't be able to do anything once you took the snapshot. You can also be completely granular. Let's say you need to print versions of a mix without the limiter. Instead of recalling the volume, you could recall just the insert settings, or if you wanted to recall everything to do with your inserts, you can turn all these on. And you can also toggle categories by either clicking the icon or the heading up top. You could also decide that actually I want to bring in the insert settings as well as the volume, and this would allow you to print a vocal up without a limiter. All of the other settings that aren't being brought in will be exactly as the session was when you said to go ahead and bounce. The other thing is, if you don't want to import any of these settings, you're just soloing and muting, switching playlists, all of that, you can turn the filter off completely, and that will just skip an entire step in the bounce process, so things will go a little bit quicker. The only other thing in the settings page are these three buttons. The one on the right is a link just to the playlist of these videos. The one in the middle, if you have Bounce Factory Pro, there are two bounce modes. There's Express, which will bounce completely in the background but won't be able to perform all of the advanced functionality available in Pro, or Pro, which will bounce with everything set exactly the way you had it. And I've gone through in another video how it will warn you what will or won't happen depending on the bounce mode that you're in. But in case you don't remember exactly what happens with each bounce mode, here is a breakdown within the app so you can just double check it. And then the third button is to report a problem. If you have any problem with Bounce Factory, this is the way to report it so that I can give you support. If you use the info@bouncefactory.net email address, it's very hard for me to track problems. I use the SoundFlow forum because it's a fantastic way for me to have a conversation with you, but be able to get back to that thread with fixes or with questions to help me out. So if you click report a problem, there are 3 steps. The first is something called collect user files. What it does is it collects all of the logs for everything that's been going on with Bounce Factory, and it puts them in a zip file on your desktop. If you send those to me, I can look at the logs, you tell me what the problem is. I can usually see from the logs exactly what's going on. Another thing that is super helpful is a screenshot or a screen recording of the issue. If it's something that you can reproduce, taking a screen recording of it will help me out immensely. In case there's something that isn't showing up in the log, I can see it on the screen. It makes it really obvious. And this will just launch QuickTime Player, which allows you to do either screenshots or screen recordings. This button will open up the SoundFlow forum in your browser, and you'll be in the Bounce Factory forum. Just create a new report, put in the link to your user files and hopefully the screenshot or the recording of it happening, and tell me what's going on, and I will get back to you as soon as I see the post, which is usually very quickly. It turns out I don't sleep a whole lot. There you go. I think if you've watched this whole series, you've seen pretty much everything there is to know about Bounce Factory, and I hope it's making your life as easy as it makes mine. Thanks.